UN peacekeepers should have the power to engage in offensive operations. We would offer the following definitions. According to Macmillan Dictionary's operation, set of actions that is necessary to achieve something. Offensive, according to Oxford Dictionary, of a sight or smell, disgusting or repulsive. Power, according to Oxford Dictionary, is the ability or capacity to do something or act in a certain or particular way. Framework, because of the way the resolution is stated in our given definitions, my partner and I will debate this round under two presumptions. Presumption 1. The way that the resolution phrases the word power with the words should have placed before it means that the only thing the pro has to do to win this round is when the offensive operations should be available to the UN if needed as a part of their arsenal. Not that they must be used in every situation in which the UN takes part. Presumption 2. We will be debating this round under offensive operations, over offensive operations, not actions. An offensive operation, as laid out in our definitions, is a set of comprehensive actions that works towards a certain goal. Contention 1. The United Nations should be allowed to use operations that install latrines in developing countries. As provided in our definitions, offensive means disgusting or repulsive. By the definition of this round, installing latrines is an offensive operation. According to georgiatech.edu, quote, 4 billion people globally suffer from chronic waterborne disease and an estimated 13 million children die annually of diarrhea, conditions linked to a lack of adequate sanitation. In a developing country with extreme conditions like Bolivia, poor sanitation poses a serious health risk, contaminating the limited water supply and attracting disease-carrying insects, end quote. According to UNICEF.org, 36% of the world's population, 2.5 billion people, lack improved sanitation facilities. Inadequate access to sanitation services, coupled with poor hygiene practices, kills and sickens thousands of children every day, and leads to impoverished and diminished opportunities for thousands more, end quote. Latrines installed by the UN would be cost-effective as well and help impoverished families. According to Megan McRaney of the Institute of Communications and Public Affairs, quote, effective prototypes will cost only $78 per unit compared to $120 for existing models. In an area where families make less than $3 per day, that cost difference could make the latrines available for schools, villages, and families, end quote. Contention 2. The United Nations should be allowed to administer vaccines in developing countries. The Oxford Dictionary's definition of offensive, the pain of a needle, but according to the Oxford Dictionary's definition of offensive, the pain of a needle being administered into the arm of citizens is clearly offensive. However, we the pros still believe that these vaccines should be administered. According to Donald Worden of Oglethorpe University, quote, one of the biggest barriers to increasing global health is a lack of infrastructure in the developing world. Indeed, the Western world easily distributes vaccines to its people. Herd immunity must be achieved in order to protect the majority of people in a population. Herd immunity occurs when a certain percentage of a population receives immunization and essentially lowers the chances that a sick person will meet a healthy, unvaccinated person. In the past 30 years, the UN has helped over 370 million rural poor combat poverty and live better lives. The organization's work in the field of healthcare is commendable. It is estimated that the United Nations Peacekeepers save about 3 million lives each year by vaccinating and providing inoculations to over 58% of the world's children. We as the Pro would advocate that you allow this work to continue and save the lives of impoverished families and children in impoverished countries. For all these reasons, we strongly urge a pro ballot.
Ready? Opponents ready? Judge ready. Let's begin. For today's debate, we negate the resolution which states the United Nations Peacekeepers should have the power to engage in offensive operations. We propose the following definitions. Offensive is defined by Merriam-Webster Dictionary as making attack or of relating to or designed for attack. Therefore, offensive operations are ones which do not pertain to self-defense and are meant to attack. Impartiality is defined by Merriam-Webster as treating or affecting all equally. The round should be weighed strictly on the resolution, which states that peacekeepers are the actors of the resolution, and thus they should have the automatic discretion to engage in offensive operations to fulfill the purpose of the mandate. Constituent. Peacekeeping missions endanger civilians. Subpoint. Current peacekeeping missions are ineffective and ill-managed. UN humanitarian missions have a history of not going as planned, and of creating hazards for civilian populations. For example, the peacekeeping mission in Haiti constructed sewer pathways that didn't meet international regulations and posed significant risk of cross-contamination. The UN camp used an open sewer system which drained directly into a major river system to dispose of human waste and disease materials. The incompetency of Nepalese UN troops led to cholera being introduced to the Haitian refugees, beginning an outbreak that has led to more than 8,500 deaths and 700,000 sickened. In addition, so this basically answers the pros contention that we should build latrines just because, but The UN's tried to do that, and they failed significantly, causing many deaths and many people being diseased and wounded because of it. In addition, the U.S. Spends $2.1 million a year per soldier in its Afghanistan mission. In contrast, the UN spends $56,000 per person in their DRC operation. This proves a huge lack of funding for UN troops. Furthermore, the UN has had particular trouble in the past staffing the peacekeeping program with experienced personnel. There have been multiple allegations of abuse by UN peacekeepers, including charges of child sexual misconduct in the CAR in Haiti. Subpoint B. A broken system should not be trusted to take military action. And trusting the ability to act militarily to irresponsible and under-equipped forces makes little sense, especially given that the entire UN peacekeeping budget is less than 200 of worldwide military expenditures. Giving inept, underfunded workforces the authority to use weapons on behalf of the biggest international humanitarian organization is irrational and will likely have disastrous consequences. This has played out in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where hundreds of thousands of civilians have been displaced or killed because of UN intervention. The spokesman for the UN's humanitarian wing, Yvonne Jin, said in January of this year, "I'm trying to bring about peace in the DRC. We are actually bringing about more damage to civilians." Contention 2, impartiality. Subpoint A. The sheer act of granting a peacekeeper the right to aggress leads to the breaking of impartiality, one of the UN's key peacekeeping principles. For example, we can see the devastating effects of when UN peacekeepers break their oaths of impartiality in their DRC in 2009. When sentenced to keep the peace, they quickly sided with the official government in all matters against M23 rebels, inherently breaking the policy of impartiality. The actions of the mission were shown to be even more impartial when the UN Security Council report in 2012 alleged that M23 rebels were an extension of the Rwandan and Ugandan military endeavors, saying that the de facto chain of command of M23 includes General Bosco Ntaganda and culminates with the Ministry of Defense of Rwanda, General James Kabarebe. Senior officials of the government of Uganda have also provided support to M23 in the form of direct troop enforcement in the Congolese territory, weapon deliveries, technical assistance, joint planning, political advice, and facilitation of external relations. In essence, the UN engaged in military actions favoring one nation against two others. Subpoint C. Support for UN peacekeeping missions is reduced. The traditional notion of impartiality is attractive to those countries that contribute the vast majority of UN peacekeepers because it minimizes the risk of their security. Becoming a belligerent party also makes the peacekeepers become targets for retaliation. For their part, member states derive a number of benefits from their contribution of troops to UN peacekeeping, but remain highly sensitive to the character of these operations. Naturally, all contributing countries want to avoid casualties and hence exhibit greater reluctance to contribute troops to missions that are not overly dangerous. Contributing states that typically assess the degree of the host government consent for a mission and might be deterred from participating in operations where this is questionable. National publics are also frequently intolerant of casualties sustained on peacekeeping operations. This possesses a particular challenge to the emerging concept of robust peacekeeping. Now, going on to their case, you can't describe an operation as offensive or repulsing and then say we're going to combat against offensive or repulsing things. All right, for this reason, we urge a combat.
Do you want us to stand or sit for crossfire?
You guys can do it.
I'd rather stand.
You mind if I have the first question? You talked about in your first contention about cross-contamination of water sources. Can you restate the source and where this happened?
This happened in Haiti with refugees. It was the competency of Nepalese UN troops that led to cholera being introduced to refugees.
Nepalese, not UN?
Nepalese UN forces brought cholera to the Haiti refugees, leading to more than 8,500 deaths and 700,000.
I would say that's an isolated example. When the United Nations,
but it's one of the.
The United Nations, their goal in that situation was not to go in and stop a cholera outbreak from happening.
No, they created a cholera outbreak.
Okay, well, however, an offensive force, as we're describing it with our definition of Oxford dictionaries, which we can talk about definitions later, but according to our definition, these offensive operations would be aimed at stopping similar outbreaks like that from happening.
Yes, but we can't
change the past. They already caused that.
No, we're causing outbreaks. It's just showing that the UN troops are not competent enough to do basic things, and they're causing the outbreaks, which you're planning to stop. All right, going on to your definition.
Wait, can I respond to that? If you look deeper into your source, you would actually notice that they caused this outbreak by having sexual encounters with the locals.
No, that's not at all what happened. Have you seen my source? Like, if you look at my source says these guys tried to make a sewer system, failed horribly, created cholera in the Haitian region, and it was a Nepalese strand, so the Haitian people were incredibly wounded by this.
Okay, my partner will talk about that.
All right. Also, why should we accept your definition that offensive means repulsive, and that it means a repulsive mission? If we're gonna go with your definition, we substitute the word offensive with repulsive or disgusting. A disgusting operation.
No, we define operations also as a set of actions to achieve a goal.
So a disgusting set of actions to achieve a goal.
No, not a disgusting set of actions. A set of actions to to stop a disgusting goal.
No, that's not what the resolution says.
Yes, it is.
You're saying that offensive equals disgusting or repulsive. And you say also that operators are things which are intended to get to a goal. So if we say repulsive set of actions that are set to achieve a goal, your resolution says we should take repulsive set of actions, going with your definition.
No, we should take, you can talk about the order of the words however much you want, but like an offensive operation, an operation to stop offensive.
That's not what the resolution says. I can read the resolution. It says United Nations Peacekeepers should have the power to engage in offensive operations. So they should have the power to engage in repulsive set of actions to accomplish a goal. Your definition doesn't make sense because of the way the framework, because of the way the resolution is worded.
I mean, you can talk about it however much you want, saying it's offensive actions, but the operations themselves are trying to stop.
That's not what the resolution says.
Therefore, if they're trying to stop offensive acts from occurring, then it is an offensive.
So what you're trying to do is create a completely new counter plan.
No, that's not a counter plan.
No, it is a counter plan because the plan says you're supposed to engage in offensive operations. What you're saying, we should engage to stop offensive things.
Okay, my opponent.
Judge, I'd like to run 30 seconds of prep time.
Argued.
Yes.
One second, Judge, just let me go at time right. Okay. Judge, ready? Opponents ready? Yep. Okay. First, let's talk about the UN contaminating river and introducing the cholera into the population of Haiti. Yeah, that's a bad thing, and they didn't know what they were doing. But we're operating under the assumption that if they are authorized to go in and build toilets, and sewers and latrines and administer vaccines, they'd probably be better educated at it than to dump all their waste in a river. So that's one isolated example of what it failed, and if we just gave up every single time we failed, like the first time, then we would be nowhere as a species. If at first you don't succeed, you need to try again. If you just give up the first, you shouldn't repeat the same thing over and over again expecting the same result, but if you change the thing you're doing and expect a different result, then that's just smart. If you see that this could potentially help someone, and you change what you did wrong and it does help someone, that's a good thing. Now, they said, why should we accept your definition of offensive? Well, we should accept it because toilets are a basic human need. And basically at the root of all warfare, the systemic root of all warfare is basic human needs if we don't have access to them. Like fighting over food, fighting over clean water. This is what causes warfare. It's a huge problem and millions of people die every year because of 4 billion people globally suffer from chronic waterborne disease. This is a huge number and we need to address that. Now, my opponents talked about repulsive action. Okay, maybe building a latrine might not be that repulsive. I mean, it's still kind of gross. You have to get down there and dig a hole. But we're operating on the assumption that the latrines will also be maintained. And if you've ever cleaned a toilet, it's pretty repulsive. Onto our vaccinations. Vaccinations are repulsive. I have a phobia of needles, and whenever I see a needle, I feel repulsed, and it's gross. I don't want that stuck in my arm. That's a repulsive action. Onto our own case. Our contingent one, the United Nations should be allowed to use operations that install latrines in developing countries. As provided in our definition, offensive means disgusting or repulsive. By definition of this round, installing latrines is an offensive operation. 4 billion people globally suffer from chronic waterborne disease. 36% of the world's population, 2.5 billion people, lack improved sanitation facilities. Inadequate access to sanitation service coupled with poor hygiene practice kills and sickens thousands of children every day. Now, contingent 2, the UN should be allowed to administer vaccines in developing countries. The Oxford Dictionary definition of offensive, it applies to the pain of the needle being administered as well as, like, for me, if I see a needle, I feel repulsed. According to Donald Warren of Oglethorpe University, one of the biggest barriers to increasing global health is a lack of infrastructure in the developing world. Indeed, the Western world easily distributes vaccines to people, but in the developing world, that doesn't happen. Herd immunity must be achieved in order to protect the majority of people in population. Herd immunity occurs when a certain percentage of the population receives immunization. So basically what you have is on the con side, they're talking about peacekeeping operations and the UN going in, but what we're talking about is world health and saving the lives of millions upon millions of people by immunizing them, giving them basic human needs that are the systemic root of all conflict. So a vote for the con is a vote for peacekeepers being able to use guns. A vote for the pro is saving millions upon millions of people by administering vaccines and taking out the systemic root of warfare. In a cost-benefit analysis, on one side, you have an iffy situation where we might be able to shoot rebels, which I don't think we should kill anyone. That's a pretty bad thing. I think we should all just be chill. And then on the pro side, you have us saving millions of lives by immunizing people and building latrines and basically giving water sanitation to millions of people. And again, 36% of the world's population, 2.5 billion people, lack improved sanitation facilities. A vote for the pro is a vote for the improved lives of 2.5 billion people. For all these reasons, we strongly urge a pro ballot.
Can we use some prep time? Oh, how much? Can I just wonder? Alright, so we say the definition. Here, just stop prep. It's okay. 9 seconds.
Yes, sir? May I write the resolution up on the board?
You certainly can.
Thank you.
Do you have it?
Well, just, let's see, so I don't, misphrase it or anything.
Oh, did you guys want the card on Al Jazeera? Or the card about the cholera?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. Because you seem to... Alright, it's 2 separate cards. But they both deal with the same issue at the end. Alright. So here's the card about the cholera outbreak and the death toll.
Oh, yes.
And then this is the card proving that it was the UN peacekeepers themselves causing this problem.
So is this the only claim about UN peacekeepers being responsible?
Well, no.
Does it say anything about being on a train?
Are you done? Okay. Okay, opponents, are you ready? Opponents?
Yes, sir.
Partner, are you ready?
Ready.
For a quick off-time roadmap, I'm going to contest why I should throw out my opponent's contentions, and then I'm going to move on to what I think really is the issue of the matter at hand. Very well. First of all, their own contentions fall by basic English grammar. You see here we have the subject, peacekeepers. Peacekeepers with the verb should have. Should have what? They should have the power. But the power to what? The power refers to the ability to engage. But to engage in what? Engage in offensive operations. As per my opponent's definitions, offensive should be seen as disgusting, and operations should be seen as a set of actions. Now you see, even to my opponent's own definitions, they are not engaging in a disgusting set of actions. In fact, they're trying to engage in clean set of actions, which is actually quite contrary to their entire framework. As even if you do accept that my opponents do not go as according to their own resolution contentions, our claim of Haiti alone, where they could not even properly install proper sanitation, proper sewer systems, should dismiss their entire work, here. But in reality, Judge, I'm going to be straight and honest with you, and I'll tell you that I don't think that's really the matter at hand right now. I think that from our interpretation of the resolution and from the interpretation of the resolution of every other team I debated against and every other coach that I talked to, it talks about UN peacekeeping operations in the offensive manner that we described as given to our definition and the definition that you probably yourself have seen used in most rounds, where it has to do with actual UN peacekeeping soldiers that are going forth to act in offensive military operations, such as in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So my opponents have not even touched anything as according to that round. So you should throw out their entire contentions, because in reality it is like a policy abuse of debate with critiques and writing some sort of a weird K. This in itself is strange and foreign to the entire concept of public forum. You should not even consider this at all. But if you do consider this, they fall by their own definitions, their contentions fall by their inadequacy, and they have not provided any actual link as to how the UN peacekeeping operations, which involve in what they call, as a proper interpretation of their definition, in successful operations. However, if my opponents do decide to switch their cases in the middle of this round, I would like to say that they should not engage in any offensive operations of any kind. Because with the engaging of any offensive operations of any kind, they do not actually explain to you where the exact money is going to come from, and they do not say that if they take money towards one sort of offensive operations, that it will not take money away from other sorts of offensive operations. As a poor Russian Jew, when I grew up in Siberia, I sort of understand the problem that they are talking about, but in reality it kind of disgusts me at the same time that they sort of make a joke about it. So I grew up having to go to basically what were called previes, and so I understand what you're talking about, and it's kind of really saddening to me at the same time. I don't even know what to say to that, which is probably what you were going for. Also, the pro gave no reason to really accept their definitions, and since our definitions fit in with the actual common interpretation of resolution, you should accept all that we have to say. There is no reason that you should accept their quote-unquote silly definitions, which I do commend for being original, for bringing up a matter, but they have nothing to do with the debate at hand. Vote common. Thank you.
You guys need prep time for Crossfire?
No, it should be good. So, I have the first question. Why are you trying to marginalize me in my views? I have a legitimate phobia of needles, and I find vaccination super offensive. Like, it's a legitimate definition, it's a legitimate thing. And Judge, their insensitivity on this issue and their calling our argument as a joke isn't okay in the debate space. Our argument
What's your question?
My question is, why are you trying to marginalize me? Why are you calling my argument a joke?
Look, first of all, I do have a fear of needles, and I'm pretty sure that you did not grow up having to go to basically no toilets. So in fact, I have more of a reason and more of a connection to this argument than you are going to have. But in the same time, I understand what you're saying. The problem that I have with your definitions here now is that there is a greater issue at hand, an issue that of slaughters of hundreds of millions of people, of brutal war crimes that are not being addressed. This is not what we're debating
millions
about.
of people without access to water sanitation, and the fact that you had to deal with this as a kid is really terrible.
Why should I accept your definition and your interpretation of the resolution?
Because
Why?
it is an offensive operation.
First of all, by English grammar, you are not engaging in offensive operations. Second of all, why should I accept this over war crimes?
Are an offensive operation.
No, how are peacekeepers engaging in disgusting set of actions?
Because they're vaccinating.
So vaccinating is a disgusting set of action.
Yeah, it's by the definition of Oxford Dictionary.
And building latrines is a disgusting set of action.
No, but we're operating under the assumption that latrines have to be maintained. If you've ever I've never had a personal experience with it, and I'm sorry that I can't relate to that on a personal level like you can. But maintaining any type of toilet, especially latrines and privies, is probably really disgusting and offensive.
You're right. In a sense, I can see what you're saying, but it's more disgusting having to clean up carcasses and having to hold your dead relatives in your arms.
People die because they aren't vaccinated and they have lack of clean water.
That's fine. Do you have some question for me?
No, you can ask the question.
Let's just cancel. Let's
Okay.
just cancel the rest of this.
Do you guys want to prep time?
Yes, we'd like to run the rest of our prep time, Judge.
No, it's not. It's not.
Oh, sorry. 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'll take 30. Actually, I should be good.
Alright, you guys still have 6
We have 5 seconds for it.
Judge, brief off-time roadmap. I'm going to go over my opponent's contentions, our framework, and then our own contentions that time allows. First, Judge, I'd like to talk about my opponent's refutations to our contentions. They stated that our whole case falls by our own definitions. That's, however, not true. The very definition, vaccinating a whole group of people, if these people find vaccinations offensive, it is an offensive operation. My opponents cannot refute this by their own logic. The same with cleaning latrines. These latrines have to be installed to help with the sanitation of these poor countries. My opponents cited a cholera outbreak that the United Nations started. By my opponent's own definitions, cholera, by my opponent's own source, cholera actually increases diarrheic levels in people that have it. Therefore, the United Nations should be allowed to go in and create latrines, by my opponent's own source, to clean up the mess that they already started. My opponent said there's no evidence of peacekeepers giving vaccines in the first place. However, in our opening speech, we cited that United Nations peacekeepers have saved over 2.5 billion, have vaccinated over 2.5 billion people in their existence. My opponent keeps talking about the common interpretation of the issue. However, we're not here to talk about the common interpretation. We're here in public forum debate to open a free market of ideas, and we defined it as disgusting or repulsive. My opponents define it as something else. However, what they fail to realize is those two definitions don't clash with each other. We stated in our own framework that we only have to provide offensive operations as a tool in the toolbox. Therefore, in a situation where millions of people are dying because of disease, that offensive operations should be a tool in the toolbox of the United Nations to keep these people safe. My opponent as for their contentions about how military action is bad, we're not going to get into this because that's not what we've defined this debate as today. Even if we give them all those contentions, we should still be able, by our own framework, to use offensive operations such as vaccinations and latrine building as an offensive operation to save lives. Thank you.
I'm going to start off with the definition debate, and then go on to their only contention. All right. Opponents ready? Ivan ready? Judge ready? Let's begin. All right, so Judge, what you're presented here is a very, very loose a wrong grammatical structure of the resolution versus a actual definition, which actually applies to today's debate, other than some loose, weird, not actual English definition. They give you something. United Nations Peacekeepers should have the power to engage in disgusting set of things to accomplish a goal. Giving vaccinations isn't a disgusting thing. They say that it's disgusting because the people themselves think some people might think it's weird or not good, but it's not disgusting to the peacekeepers themselves who are distributing this operation, who are, yes. So, going back to that, them saying that distributing vaccines is repulsive and that it's a set of acts, they should engage in this operation that's repulsive, doesn't make any sense because the resolution doesn't work when you try to apply their definition. And the point of this, peacekeepers are a military force who carry guns and who try to protect civilians. They're not like the Red Cross. They're not the Red Cross who try to give people vaccines and stuff. And when they do try to take over the role of the Red Cross by building sewer systems and latrines and stuff like that, they fail horribly. They bring cholera. They kill 8,000 people. They cause 700,000 people infected. And the Congress saying, the pro saying we should go back there and try to fix it. But why are we trying to keep going to other places when we fail so miserably where we tried again? And as proven through our contention too, the peacekeepers simply don't have enough funding to train these people to learn how to build latrines and to create a safe operation, a safe living environment for the Haitian refugees. So overall, this debate has come down to the definition, and their definition is so not English that you can't accept the judge, and our definition is so, and our contention completely override theirs because we tried to do this, and it's failed horribly, and there's not enough training to make it better.
All right, you know if we have the first question?
Timer.
I'm ready.
What do you mean by our definition is not English?
United Nations Peacekeepers should have the power to engage in repulsive set of actions to get stuff done.
Okay.
And then wait, can I please finish?
No,
I'm trying to finish. And then you continue to say that they should distribute vaccinations and build latrines when that's not what the resolution that you're trying to frame up says.
Actually, what you're doing...
It says offensive operations.
Yes, all right, so...
No, you've already said this. Okay, offensive operations. Who says that the resolution is from the peacekeepers' point of view? You said these peacekeepers don't find it offensive to themselves that these operations...
The website of the National Association of Species.
But it doesn't say, but the resolution doesn't say United Nations peacekeepers should have the power to engage in what they consider offensive operations.
As far as I know, Judge, the website National Species and Debate doesn't define the word offensive.
Yes, and
they only choose the resolution, you know. They only,
yeah,
and how
it doesn't matter.
And you still have given us no reason to choose your definition over ours. So
but they don't clash.
Yes, they do completely clash. We're saying they should offensive means of power, engaging military.
There may be more than
wait,
one
can I please? And when
word.
you say offensive, when we say offensive means engaging military. Can I please? When we say offensive means engaging militarily and making attack on someone, and you say offensive means repulsive, those are completely different.
How does Oxford spell?
Judge, I don't care how they build the toilets. They can shoot the ground until it turns
Or can I
into
see
a hole.
Oxford spell to offensive?
Like, they can use
What
military
does that
operations to
even
build
mean?
the
They can
toilets.
shoot
But
the
we're
ground
talking
to make a
We're talking
toilet.
about offensive operations.
What?
Okay, let me ask you this. So I think we have a contention with this, based that for you to even have any more of a chance, you have to prove that most people find it as disgusting and not life-giving.
Okay,
Because
let's
if you
take a
can't prove a
moment. Who
majority,
here likes
then
to
they're
clean
not
the
really-
toilet? Like, who here likes to clean, like, a public restroom?
Okay,
Well,
on
are you
from
saying
that.
that people can't
Neither
like to
side
clean
is
the
going to agree on
restroom?
that. We'll move on from that. Can I ask you this?
No,
You just stated that.
No, you still haven't answered my question. Why should we choose your definition over ours?
Why should we choose yours over ours?
I asked you the question.
Because it has the status quo, it has a definition of the
There
National
is no
Association
status
of
quo.
Speech and Debate.
So just because it's status quo doesn't mean you can marginalize
Can you just
millions of
please,
people
can you
dying
please
without
just answer? I would like an
vaccinations.
answer to my question.
I have no answer. Can
You
I
have
ask?
no answer. All right, so you
Can
have
I
no
ask
answer.
you
That's
this?
wait.
No, wait, let me ask you a question.
No,
Why
so
can't
you have
you
no
accept our
I'm gonna go and I'm going to engage in offensive operations.
All right, let's go to the bathroom.
Okay, can I ask you something? You stated just now that the United Nations can't afford all these peacekeeping operations. That's why we should allow them to use
No, it's
this,
not
because we stated in our opening speech that it decreases the cost from over $120 down to $75 per
Wait,
unit.
what? They don't have the funding to do it. And
That's why we're decreasing the funding.
What? Where did you continue to say we
That was
increase
in
the
our-
funding
that
and
was
they
in our-
automatically get better?
Time's
after-
up. Time's
No,
up.
we have 15 seconds. Why?
That was in our opening argument.
In what?
It
Wait,
said-
can I please answer? In what world, when you decrease the funding, someone gets better at their job?
No, in this world, the latrines that they would be installing are more cost effective than the current
Yeah,
strategy.
you're saying the cost in the UN peacekeeping mission goes down.
Yes.
Yes. So that's fine. You guys want prep?
No, I should be good.
You gotta get your friend from the bathroom.
Ivan, come here. All right, he's going.
Oh, yeah, come here, Ron. You know, like,
It's like 40 hours in the first.
By the way, would I see that spelling of that Oxford has offensive?
Absolutely. You can pull it up on the website.
Like,
Can we see it from the website?
Yes, actually, I have it right here.
Is there more than one way to spell offensive?
OxfordDictionary.com. Oxford, that's what it says. Definition.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, that should be good for part-time judge. Alright, Judge ready? Understand? Alright, so first, let's just talk about the definition of the word offensive. Offensive, we define it as disgusting or repulsive, and then they said that building latrines and maintaining them isn't offensive. But just to take a quick poll here, who likes cleaning a disgusting toilet? Who thinks it's fun? Anyone in this room? No? You do? Okay, well you're in the minority, and I respect you for that. So, since you're in the minority, you have to see that we are, and since you're in the minority, you also have to see where we're coming from. We're advocating against the status quo of how this topic is defined. We think it's a much more pertinent topic that millions of people are dying every year from lack of vaccinations and poor water sanitation. Our contingent one, the United Nations should be allowed to use offensive operations to install latrines in developing countries. This contingent is operating under the assumption that when we install a latrine, it is maintained. And like I said, maintaining a toilet and cleaning it, especially when it's used by, like, publicly, it's not a nice experience. It's pretty repulsive and disgusting. Contingent 2, UN should be allowed to administer vaccines in developing countries. The Oxford Dictionary's definition of offensive, the pain of the needle and the sight of the needle is offensive. It's repulsive, it's disgusting. I don't want to see that go in my skin. It's gross, it hurts, I don't like it. However, it is necessary. According to Donald Warren of Oglethorpe University, one of the biggest barriers in increasing global health is the lack of infrastructure in the developing world. Indeed, the Western world easily distributes vaccines to its people. Herd immunity must be achieved in order to protect the majority of people in a population. So what we have on one side is a vote for the con is an advocacy for the UN not shooting at rebels. A vote for the pro is an advocacy for going in and saving millions of lives by training people to distributing vaccinations, building latrines, all of which are offensive operations under the definition of Oxford Dictionary. For all these reasons, we strongly urge a pro ballot.
All right, we have like 150 prep time. All right, so unfortunately, since we're using this, which you guys are saying something. We're saying something we said that we actually didn't say. And we need to apologize. So,
So you ready?
Yes.
Sir? Let us finish this. First of all, sir, there are certain key voting issues that you must see today. First of all, a voting issue is that my opponents have used an abusive framework and definition that is nowhere to be found. There is no way that we could have prepared for it. So in that case, since they're running more a policy sort of a K, you should see that. Also, my opponents do not give you any actual numbers of saving lives. They never gave you an impact calc. However, we have given you an actual solid situation with the Haiti example, which showed that the UN peacekeeping forces have actually failed in the offensive operations as they are describing. The offensive operations that they have tried to do as they're describing only has resulted in even worse situations. Also, our opponents have never answered our contentions about funding. So our opponents have never actually said where those funds are going to come from, and tying into how we say that the UN peacekeepers are understaffed, underqualified, and underpaid, they have never actually refuted that, which then again feeds back into our contention, which is saying that the UN peacekeepers will not be able to successfully engage in offensive operations, and in fact are going to have a reverse effect of these offensive operations, causing even more outbreaks of cholera, and not only in places like Haiti, which even is more of a westernized sort of country, but in even worse developed nations like Africa and others, we can even expect even worse results. So the thing that you should vote on now, Judge, is that one, their contentions are just way out there. Two, they have given you no actual substantive impact calculus on their definitions. Three, we have given you solid statistics which all flow to our favor. And four, we have proven how their offensive operations will in the end result in more harm than good. Judge, this is how you should see this all. Please do not accept my opponent's argument. Please vote.
Good debate, guys.